were some protests. Weren't there some protests about?
Yes, there were some
I'm
protests
sorry. Start again.
in camp. The protest was, of course, I didn't take part in any of those things. I was too busy with my own family. But when they got to be teenagers older, they protested that the government would send them to camp and take our boys in the army, and there were some that didn't like it. They went back to Japan. Um,
But I'm talking about your brother's situation specifically, about how well, your brother was shot at in the coffee shop. I think that there were some people that protested and demanded justice. Do you know about that?
no, I don't really. I don't know anything about protesting people, but I do have articles in the paper that was sent to me, or my brother had sent to me, that I'll mail it to you when I locate it.
Okay. Um, do you know that? Are you aware that there were also some other cases where Japanese Americans were shot at, in some cases even killed?
That I don't know. I know before evacuation back home, there was some incidents where people would be shot at. That's why the government said that we couldn't leave, uh, travel more than 10 miles from home or something. There were troubles making.
What did you think when you found out that you were going to have to fill out a loyalty questionnaire?
Well, I couldn't understand why we had to sign, because I felt that personally, I felt that I was a United States citizen and that I was loyal to the United States, because I have nothing to do with the Japanese or Japanese governor except my looks, my facial features. So, but I couldn't understand what they were protesting about in camp.
Well, also, what was the most controversial part of the loyalty questionnaire?
I really can't remember what the questions were.
Remember, they asked if you wanted to swear loyalty to the U.S. or forswear loyalty to Japan?
Yes, I remember that, but I had no hesitation. I just signed that I was loyal to the United States government, because I was born here, and I had my children here, and I was educated here, and so there was no problem with me. Others did have problems.
I think you said before that you thought you'd be safer in Arkansas than to be sent to Tule Lake.
Well, I felt Arkansas was miles away from California, and thought that we would be safer there than up in Tule Lake, where my brother and his family went. Up, it's still California up there. So I never questioned whether it would be safer or not, but I just felt that I was going to make the best of it wherever I was sent.
Mm-hmm. And there's an awful lot of people in Jerome, though, that said no on the questionnaire. Do you
Pardon?
know there were a lot of people in Jerome who said no on that loyalty questionnaire?
I don't know. I really can't answer that, because I really don't know what others said or did.
Tell me, looking back, how you would describe the impact of the internment on you and your family.
Well, to me, I think it was something of an experience that we hope that no one else will have to go through. But we were not mishandled. I mean, we were fed 3 times a day, and we of course there was inconvenience too of the facilities, bathing facilities and things, but being brought up on the farm, I realized, we did have some of the things that we had to put up with, but I never felt that we were being mistreated.
You told me before. Actually, let's cut for a minute. Thing here, I'm trying to understand the feelings that you had as you look back, and this is because today people don't know anything about this. A lot of people. So, a combination of feelings. Can you tell me what
W-
what your
Yes,
feelings were?
this is my personal feeling that we were evacuated into camp. We were living on the farm, and it was depression time. Life was hard, even in. So when we were evacuated forcibly, with we just had no choice. I didn't want to feel bitter, especially after we were in Jerome. I had the children, and I didn't want to feel bitter because I always felt that the children can feel what the parents do. And I wanted to make the best of the situation so that they will learn that no matter what comes in life, they'd have to make the best of the situation. And so in a way, I was glad we were in camp and not back home because I knew if we were back home, we would have been in trouble with the people in the area. But over there, we were more or less protected, and the children, I had more time to spend with them. I didn't have to go out and work in the fields to make a living. I just enjoyed them, and I think they felt my feelings because as they grew up, they never felt bitter.
You did a good job.
Hmm.
What kind of people suffered most, do you think, in camp?
Well, I think the people that suffered the most are the ones that felt bitter for the government because they were being evacuated. But when I think back, the people that were bitter didn't have everything anyways in life, but they just felt that they were being denied or couldn't get the things they wanted, forgetting that they had to work so hard and always don't get what they want.
And tell me what you thought about the redress movement. Was that adequate, the compensation of $20,000?
Well, the redress was sort of a surprise. I didn't expect anything. But when they gave it to us, I accepted because it was given to us and we could use it. And so my two older children that were in camp received the redress too. But my youngest daughter was born here, so she didn't get it. So I felt I'll give my share to her so she could buy a house.
And your brother Louis, he got it. Your brother Louis got the redress payment.
No, I don't. No, he wasn't in camp, so he didn't get it.
Oh, of course.
Yes, he was in the army.
Um, you know, how? Why do you think people didn't protest? How do you think that it happened? I mean, how it's mind-boggling that such an awful thing happened.
It is. The thing was terrible, but we knew this was coming. I think they were sensing it and knew that something was going to happen with Japan, the Pearl Harbor and all. So in order to, I don't know why more people didn't protest like some of the groups do nowadays, but we just went along, and I did anyway, and my family felt that we were given the opportunity to make our own life again, and so we just did because we knew it wasn't going to be forever. We weren't going to be in camp forever, and so someday we would be able to come home. And so was my feeling. But I just knew it was just a temporary thing.
Do you think that there is any? What do you think the effect was of rounding up all the community leaders before evacuation?
Well, I think the community leaders, of course, wasn't too involved with anything, but they felt it wasn't right that we should be going to camp. And I felt some of the community leaders were treated, they had a lot of brutality. They were into different camps. They were beaten. They were taken in the middle of the night and not given a chance to put clothes on. And I think that I can't understand why they were treated that way because there was no protesting or anything. They just because they were Japanese and they were born in Japan. They felt, a lot of people felt that they're part of the Japanese government or something. But we here in America never protested, you know.
Well, the community leaders weren't necessarily born in Japan, were they? There were
No,
a lot of them.
not all of them, but they were. But because they were leaders, I think, I don't know why, but they were treated like they were. That I can't forget, you know. They were put in camp and beaten and deprived. But when it was all over, well, it's all over.
Would you chalk a lot of it up to racism?
Well, I really don't know the reason. I think it's my own personal feeling. Now, others didn't feel the way I do and still don't feel the way I do, but I'm not a protester. I don't like to protest. I like to do things as it comes, make the best of it. And so my life has been very fruitful, has been very happy.
That's very good. It's a good outcome. Tell me more about your last thoughts about the legacy of camp and why it's important to remember this.
Well, I want my children to remember camp because it was something, a history. A lot of books don't talk about it or write about it, and I think they should keep their Japanese tradition. And so my children now growing up, but I want the grandchildren too to know that we have this feeling of Japanese descent, or certain things that we are inherited. It's in our genes. It's just like our looks. You can't change our looks, and we can't change the way we feel. But I think it's more important that we make our life as happy and fruitful as we can.
Is that is it shigatanai?
Shigatanai, we take it. No, I don't think it's more than that to me. It's how we feel that makes life, individual life, fruitful and happy. So we make the best of it, accept things as they are, and change what we don't think is right. I don't like the protesting and I don't like the discrimination, but we should all have to work towards a peaceful nation, peaceful world, I should say, that each of us, whether we're rich or poor, should have a chance of life, to be happy.
Go along with you with that. Is there anything else that I should have asked you that I didn't ask you? Anything else about your experience that you'd like to say?
Well, there isn't much I could relate on, except that if it weren't for evacuation, when we were in Jerome, people from the outside were recruiting workers because, with so many in the Army, they needed. So my husband, being a carpenter in camp, but then there was a demand or call that they wanted carpenters. So he went to Chicago, and they were building trailer homes for the officers because the housing was so short. And he went into trailer business. And he worked there building homes. And then the owner of that business was moving back to California. And so he told Bill, he says, you don't want to live in Chicago. You're from California. That's why he said, come and work for me because I'm going to start a trailer business in Pasadena. So that's how we landed in Pasadena. And I'm very thankful that we did come to Pasadena and not on the farm in Sacramento.
How did you feel when you left Jerome?
I was nervous. I didn't know.
Can you say it in a full sentence?
When we left Jerome, Bill, my husband, went first.
Sorry, let's just.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry, Lily.
Jerome.
Sorry.
We just need to let the camera wind up. Okay.
Okay.
When we were thinking of leaving Jerome because we heard there was a call for outside work, and my husband Bill didn't want to be in camp. He didn't want the children to be in camp. So he took the first opportunity and went on a job in Chicago for a trailer factory where they were making trailer homes for the officers of the military. And he worked there 2 years, 3 years, and then the owner said he was going to move back to Pasadena and told Bill, he says, you don't want to live in Chicago all your life or bring your children up. Why don't you move to Pasadena with me? So Bill thought that was a good idea because his mother and father were in Sacramento, and it would be a lot closer to take care of them when the time came. So he decided, and so when he came to tell me about it, we took the first opportunity, as it was the last week that the WRA, the relocation, would send our personal belongings back home free. So then we went to came back to Sacramento, and I lived with Bill's parents for several months while Bill worked in Pasadena until he found a home. He found a home, but the people that was renting the home wouldn't leave because they said they had no place to go, and our limited income, we couldn't just move any place because of racial tension at the time. So Bill had to get a lawyer to evacuate the tenant. And so then, and I wanted to move in September when the school started. So we moved to Pasadena 57 years ago, I think. So my son started kindergarten, and my daughter was in the second and third grade.
Now, just tell me how you felt when you were leaving Arkansas?
Living in Arkansas.
Leaving, when you were about to say goodbye to Arkansas.
When I was leaving Arkansas, I was a little afraid that if we couldn't make a go of it, we couldn't come back to camp. Once we left camp, we couldn't come back. The government would help us. So I just made up my mind, and Bill made up his mind that we're going to make do like we always did. And so we did. We lived in a 3-story bed bug apartment.
Were you sad to leave it all? Were you sad to say goodbye to Arkansas?
Yes, I felt free after we left because things were rationed. Meat was rationed, sugar was rationed, shoe was rationed. But we had a chance to do what we wanted to, and we made a go of it until time we came back to Pasadena.
You're survivors. So
we've been happy here ever since. My children have grown. I had 3 children, two before evacuation, 1 after we came to Pasadena, but we were able to send them through college and on their own, although I lost my older daughter to cancer about 10 years ago, but I still have the 2. And my youngest daughter's married, a nurse. She has 2 children, and I see them quite often. My son is a bachelor, but he's retired. He just retired so he could enjoy his life.
Good for him.
And stay healthy. And Bill and I were just in our retirement doing the best we can in our ages.
You're doing great.
But evacuation will always be with us.
Yeah.
We won't ever forget that.
No.
Mm-hmm. And I don't want the children to forget that either. My grandchildren, I only have 2. But I talked to them about it, and they asked me questions about it.
Now they're going to watch you on TV.
Yeah, so.
Did you cut?
Yeah, I can do.
Yep, cut.
Okay.
That was a fast minute.
Well, it's pretty quiet. I mean, it's the same. Gonna get a lot of the same thing. Did you just want one clean minute? I mean, that's 40 seconds.
Now you can.
Okay.
Just as it moved.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nurses.
I see.
Nursing is a good business for
Just
those
darkened
and
it up.
doctors too.
Yeah. I think that's probably better exposure. Okay, if you want to say anything, it's
Yeah, sure.
recorded.
Okay. This is Lily Yamamoto and her her husband Bill Yamamoto and their family. Lily is the second woman from the left, standing in the center in the back, and Bill's right beside her.
Well, I started.
And those are her two children in the picture. The little girl that's down on the man's lap, and the boy in her sister's arms.
My neighbor, he's a
Right in
commercial
front,
photographer.
in the center of the picture
and he
is
takes,
Lily's
these
father,
advertising
and then the
pictures,
other two
and
adults in the
he's doing
front
real well. He
are
said when he was working
Bill's
for somebody,
parents,
he
his
was
mother
just
and his
making
father.
so much.
And they're
but when
standing
he
out in
went
front
on
of their
his
barrack in
own, he said
Jerome.
he does 1 day's work and it's for the whole week or 10 days or something.
This is a tight shot of Lily and Bill.
You do this every day?
Well, not 7 days a week, but you know, quite a lot.
This, for me, this is only one little part of the whole process. To raise the money,
That's the
write
hard
the
bit.
proposals, raise the money.
How'd you get in touch with Mary Ann?
Okay, what?
Marriott
It's for.
on here by 4:30.
Well, I don't know about that. I was just thinking that if there was a Kinko's near here or something like that, whilst I was packing up, Percy maybe could drive you to that and you could do a proper copy of it. So you could do rostrum stuff if you wanted to. If there was one,
If there's a Kinko's nearby.
yeah.
La Crescenta's. You're pretty close to La Crescenta.
La Crescenta nearby?
Yes, like I said, the next